Hello and welcome to my storybook world. Here are some of my many animal characters. If you haven't met them yet, you'll find them in my other books. Take a look. Animals live everywhere on our planet. Some animals move from place to place. They travel very long distances. These journeys are called migrations. Why do animals migrate? Well, they might be looking for food or for a better place to live, or even a safe place to have their babies. How do animals find a way? Well, they don't have the kind of technology that we humans have, so they have to use something else. They use their senses, plus the sun, the moon, and the stars, which all help to guide them. These animals make one of the longest migrations of any creature on the planet. I wonder if you know what they are. They are Arctic terns. The Arctic terns fly from the Arctic to the Antarctic every year. The yellow line shows you the route that they take. They stay there for 3 months and then they fly all the way back again. That is indeed a very, very long migration. Now, if you were going from the Arctic to the Antarctic in an aeroplane, how long do you think it would take you? Have a think. If you think it would take you 24 hours, then you'd be absolutely right. But what about if you're an Arctic tern and you don't have jet engines in your wings? You only have flap power. How long do you think that would take? A lot longer. If you think that that would take the Arctic tern 90 days or 3 months, then you'd be absolutely right again. And guess what? They only stop once. They eat and sleep on the wing. Amazing. That picture looks as though the Arctic terns fly around the moon. Well, of course they don't, do they? The idea is that because they fly from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back again every year, if you add up all those journeys for every year of their life, in their lifetime, they fly as far as to the moon and back 3 times. Amazing. Do you think there are any dangers? How do you think they survive these? I'll give you a clue. There's safety in numbers. And now it's story time. Searching for Skye, an Arctic tern adventure, written and illustrated by Gail Clark. On the Arctic shore, on a clear spring day, 2 small speckled eggs in a stony nest lay. Mum and Dad Tern kept them warm day and night, watching in case there was danger in sight. And at last, a sound like a tap or a scratch told them their babies were ready to hatch. The newly hatched chicks were fluffy and small. They didn't have any real feathers at all. They sat in the nest with their beaks open wide so the parents could pop something tasty inside. And those 2 baby terns ate and slept all day long until they had grown both healthy and strong. The parents thought that their young ones were clever, the smartest and best looking baby terns ever. Mum decided to call them Pilot and Skye. Great names, agreed Dad, when they know how to fly. And in a few weeks, the baby terns grew. Their fluffiness went, and grey feathers came through. A black feather cap appeared on each head. You are growing up fast, their proud mother said. Tomorrow, I'll teach you to fly, Father Tern added to Pilot and Skye. They began the next day. Dad called, "Just follow me and flap your wings hard as I count up to 3. Mum held her breath. Not a word did she say as her young ones took off in a wobbly way. She peeped through her wings as they circled around and smiled as they both came back safely to ground. "Fantastic," she cried. Father agreed. "A little more practice is all that you need." Their flying improved, and in just a few days, they could catch their own food in a number of ways, diving into the sea to spear fishes to eat and capturing insects in flight for a treat. "I think that we're ready," Dad said one fine day. "In a very short time, we must be on our way." "On our way where?" Pilot asked, quite excited. "Can we come too? Have we both been invited?" "Everyone's going, young and old too," replied Father Tern. "It's what we terns do. When darker days come, we must start our migration, flying thousands of miles to a new destination. From North Pole to South Pole, we follow the sun halfway round the world to where summer's begun." The Tern babies listened with eyes open wide, and when Dad had finished, they cheerfully cried, "How long will it take? When do we start? Can we leave now? I can't wait to depart." "Slow down," said Mum, smiling. "We first have to make a plan and decide on which route to take. Your father and I are meeting tonight with a large group of terns who will join in our flight. You two stay here and be good little chicks. Don't go out on your own, and no silly tricks." The parents flew off. Skye waited a while, then her face lit up with a mischievous smile. She stretched out her wings and rose into the air, calling out to her brother, "Come if you dare." "Come back," Pilot cried. "We promised to wait." But Skye didn't hear him. His words were too late. "I'll be back very soon," she called in delight, and flapping her wings, she flew out of sight. Pilot sat in the nest and he waited for Skye, but she didn't come back, and the hours drifted by. He started to worry. He knew there were dangers. Mum and Dad weren't around to protect them from strangers. Then at last, the beating of wings made it clear to the worried young tern that his parents were near. They landed, and Pilot told them the tale. Mum started to cry, and Dad looked quite pale. "We must search for our baby. There's no time to rest till Skye is back with us and safe in our nest." They searched through the night and all the next day, but where Skye had gone to, no one could say. They circled the skies, they asked all around, but wherever they looked, she couldn't be found. The parents were sad. It was as they had feared. Their adventurous baby had just disappeared. Summer came to an end. The terns knew they must go before the arrival of ice, sleet, and snow. "The others can't wait any longer," Dad said, looking sadly at Mum and shaking his head. "The long journey south will take 90 days. There is no time to waste on further delays. We must leave without Skye. What else can we do? Thousands of birds cannot wait for a few." "We can't leave Skye here," Pilot cried in dismay. "She'll be all alone. She won't find the way." The tears filled his eyes and ran down his beak as Mum looked on sadly, unable to speak. "Perhaps," Dad continued, "Skye has been found by a flock that's already Antarctica bound. If she's gone with them, there might be a way for our family to be reunited one day. We must keep up our spirits and hope for the best, letting luck and good fortune take care of the rest. The day for departure had finally come. The cold air was filled with a low whirring hum, as beating their wings they rose into the sky, and the terns waved the Arctic a cheerful goodbye. "Stay close to us, pilot," were Dad's kindly words. "We'll protect you from dangers and unfriendly birds. Don't stray from the group, stay well within sight on your very first marathon pole-to-pole flight." "I will," Pilot answered, his voice not quite steady, whispering softly, "I just hope that I'm ready." The mid-North Atlantic was where they were going, and thanks to the helpful winds that were blowing, they completed this stage of their journey quite fast and could feed on fresh fish and plankton at last. Once rested and fled, they flew on past the shores of a small group of islands called the Azores. The dangers were many, the journey was long, the icy cold winds were frightening and strong, and once, in the evening, a cry loud and clear warned all the terns that danger was near. "What's happening?" cried Pilot, filled with alarm. "Don't worry," said Dad. "You will come to no harm. Some large gulls are near. They may try to attack. There are only a few, and we terns can fight back." And as Pilot watched, with eyes open wide, he stopped feeling scared and his heart filled with pride, as Dad and the other terns made it quite clear to the fierce group of gulls that they weren't welcome here. The terns were much smaller, but thanks to their skills, they frightened the gulls with their sharp pointed bills. With a beating of wings, the gulls flew away. The terns all cheered loudly and shouted, "Hooray!" Continuing south for many more miles, they finally came to the Cape Verde Isles, where each Arctic tern had a hard choice to make. Which of the two different routes should he take? Half of the group would continue to fly down the African coast, while the others would try to cross the Atlantic and fly farther still as they followed the eastern coast of Brazil, till all of the terns joined together once more, coming safely to land on Antarctica's shore. On the Weddell Sea ice packs, they happily found a safe summer home and a good hunting ground. "Pilot, we've made it," Mum and Dad gasped as the huge group of terns landed safely at last. "Our marathon flight is now over and done. You are such a brave tern. We're proud of you, son." But no answer came, not even a peep. Pilot, exhausted, had fallen asleep. It was now time to rest, and on cold, starry nights, the terns told each other of long-distance flights, of adventures they'd had, of danger they'd seen, of routes they had chosen, and places they'd been. And then Pilot's mum, with a tear in her eye, told them the story of how they'd lost Skye. All of the terns, young and old too, said how sorry they were. It was all they could do. But this isn't quite where our tern story ends. Several days later, one of their friends came to see Mum and Dad because he had heard an incredible tale of a young baby bird. Lost and alone, one night she'd been found by a kind pair of terns when she fell to the ground. She was tired, she was hungry. The pair did their best to give her good food and plenty of rest. Then finally, when she was healthy and strong, they flew from the Arctic and took her along. Could this be Skye, who'd been lost months ago before leaving the Arctic? It just might be so. Now, his parents thought Pilot was safely in bed, but he'd heard every word their new friend had said. "We've got to go now," he excitedly cried, flapping about, his eyes open wide. Their friend added cheerily, "I'll lead the way. It won't take us long, I am happy to say." And as he had promised, they landed quite soon, finding their way by the light of the moon. A small group of terns was standing around, anxiously waiting for them on the ground. And there, in the middle, as plain as could be, was the happiest sight they ever could see. "Skye," whispered Mum, in a voice soft and clear, as Skye flew to her wings and the crowd gave a cheer. Crying and laughing, they all hugged each other, brother and sister, father and mother. Their friends old and new, all were delighted. The family of terns was at last reunited. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story, and I hope you'll join me again soon for another one. In the meantime, bye for now.